We've been focusing on the China visit by Prime Minister Julia Gillard and her delegation in this programme, and our next guest is an example of a very human level of contact between our two countries. Born in Inverell, New South Wales, Linda Shum has been working with China's welfare system, specifically with Chinese orphans, since 1998. She's the founder and president of COAT, the Chinese Orphans Assistance Team, and Linda Shum joins the world from Brisbane. Linda Shum, many thanks for speaking to us. Your organisation operates in a small city, Jiaozhuo, in central China's Henan province. Why did you pick that particular province to set up in instead of a big city like Shanghai and Beijing?
The need is great in Henan province because it's actually the poorest province in all of China. It has the most population and the most poverty, and people who have a sick or handicapped child simply can't cope, and that's why it has been such an issue.
So tell us a little bit about the orphans in Henan province. Are most of them then disabled or handicapped in some way? Are there also a lot of girls, or are they quite a mixture of boys and girls?
We have a lot of boys, but all of them except one of my children have a sickness or a disability, and those disabilities range from severe brain damage, spina bifida, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy and hepatitis B.
Linda, in 1995 there was a documentary called The Dying Rooms, which showed children in a state of neglect, some were even starving. How humane is the treatment in China's state orphanages today?
Today the standard is excellent. In fact, they have specialists who deal with dying children and babies, and they have learned to really value very sick children and to give them a better death that's pain-free and in love.
So we're seeing some of the pictures of the children that your group looks after in Henan province. How did you manage to initially get the Chinese officials to support what you were doing?
First of all, we had to build a relationship with the officials. The welfare system in Henan has really improved significantly in the last 14 years, and now we have quite a high standard. But in the beginning, we simply went in and we trained and we supplied extra hands in the form of employing people to care for the children, and also equipment, medicine and other pieces of equipment that children needed in order to walk, for example.
Why are local officials happy to have foreigners help out?
Because in the beginning they had no way of doing that themselves. Now things have improved to the point where they can and they do have their own foster homes, but our foster homes were established in 2006. My husband and I were to fly to China on the 12th of December 2006 to open our first foster home, but on the 1st of December he died, and his last words to me were, "You must go to China, there is much to do." And at that time, the orphanages simply couldn't cope with the numbers of children that they had, and we were permitted to take children out and put them in family groups. And I did that, and we opened our first foster home, and now we have 8.
I understand, though, that there was recently a house fire in Henan that killed 7 children. First of all, can you tell us about that fire, and also what did authorities do after that fire in terms of the foster homes?
The foster mother was a mother on her own, and she had 18 children in her home. It was an ordinary Chinese home, and she left the older children in charge of the younger children while she went up to the school to collect the school children. And when she came back, the house was on fire and 7 of the children died. Consequently, the Beijing government have been revising all the rules for foster care, and everybody is nervous because we don't want our children to have to go back to their orphanages of origin, and that's what the Beijing government are saying that they need to do. And that's why the week before last I flew urgently to China for talks with the departments of civil affairs at a provincial and at a county level to try and prevent that. And we have succeeded in keeping our 55 children in their homes. But others are not so fortunate. They've already gone back to their orphanages.
And is this revision of rules just in the province of Henan, or is it China-wide?
It's China-wide, but in Henan we have a lot of children, so it affects us greatly. But many of our children have gone to Beijing for medical purposes, and if they're blind, for example, they go to Bethel Foster Home, and those children have to be sent back to their province of origin.
Now, you were running a school in Jiaozhou City. The government took back or took back the school from you, and now it's apparently run out of money and they want you to take it back. Is it difficult to have to cope with changing rules like this in China?
It seems to be the norm that you have to be ready. You have plan A, but by the time you get to morning tea, you're up to plan D. And so you have to be prepared to work with them carefully and with dignity and with wisdom so that they get the best out of us, but they also help us as best they can.
This is obviously a great passion for you. Tell me, in terms of your relations with Chinese officials on the ground, how do they see Australia and how do they see this visit that the Prime Minister has just made?
Well, of course, when I was there, the Prime Minister hadn't got there yet, but they do have a very high opinion of Australians because they have worked with us. Well, it's 14 years they've worked with just us, but there are hundreds and hundreds of other Australians throughout China who are doing similar things. For example, we have Dr. Joyce Hill. She's an Australian and she is in Beijing and she cares for many sick, many children needing surgery. So there are hundreds of us over there.
China has become richer and richer in the time that you've been going there, but is it your experience that the wealth seems to stick to some of the larger major cities in China and that other areas miss out?
Yes, the peasants in Henan would be the poorest in all of China, but even they are prospering and they work so hard. You know, I have such admiration for them. I love the peasants, but they work so hard to put their children through university so that their children have a better opportunity than they had. And so we have a generation of young people, about 30, well educated, and they are changing China forever in a very, very positive way.
Linda Shum from the Chinese Orphans Assistance Team speaking to us from Brisbane. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.